Hello my loves, thank you so much for hopping on this video with me today. Today we're going to be going over a lovely pose called Downward Facing Dog, or Adho Mukha Śvānāsana in Sanskrit. So I just wanted to spend a little bit of time on this pose today because it can be one of those ones that comes up a lot in class, and if something isn't feeling quite right, there might be an adjustment that's quite simple that you could make that can make the pose a lot more enjoyable for you. So we're going to start in our Vāmanasana, or tabletop position. So from here we're going to spread through all 10 of the fingers. The positioning of the hands is quite important because we have quite a lot of that pressure transferring through the arms, and it's our connection with the earth here. So the middle finger is going to be facing forwards. We're thinking about gripping the mat with all 10 of our finger pads and almost trying to separate the mat apart, like we're ripping it in two. And from here as well, the weight, of course, we're going to try and transfer it over the entire surface area of the hand, but we're going to consciously try and focus a little bit more of the weight through this part of the hand, through the thumb and the index finger, pressuring through here as well. So taking the hands down to the mat, middle fingers facing forwards, engaging through the arms, and imagining that I'm trying to separate the mat from either side. From here, this pose can be quite telling of our shoulder girdle strength. So what I mean from this is if my shoulders are just sinking back and I'm not able to consciously push my hands into the ground, activate through the shoulders, and try and press the shoulder blades down and back. So if we're struggling, or if we're getting any neural symptoms down the arms just from doing that, then most likely downward dog for now might not be your pose. You might have to take a dolphin pose instead, my loves, which I can of course go with you. Feel free to leave a little comment if you'd like me to do a video on that as well. So from here, the stacking of the joints is quite important in this setup. So I've got my wrist underneath my elbow underneath my shoulder. So you might notice with me, my elbows are actually a little bit more flexible than maybe some people's. So it's important sometimes if we do have a more flexible joint to try and think about a little bit of softness through the joint. So I'm not fully hyperextending the elbow, but that'll be on a case-to-case scenario, my loves, as well, especially if you don't have that issue, which is great. So from here, I'm going to think about activating through my core now. So I'm going to actively try and pull my belly button towards my spine. And so I've got a nice braced core. So when I lift up, I'm going to be trying to use those muscles instead of so much activating through the spine. So I'm going to be protecting my spine through pulling my belly button in towards the spine. From here, a little test as well, just to see the strength of the shoulders, is tucking the toes underneath, nice flat back for me, and then just lifting the knees. Now, if you find the moment that you go to lift the knees, the shoulders pull back again. Again, a little telling that maybe the shoulders aren't quite strong enough to lift us up just yet. So from here, I'm going to lift up into our downward facing dog position. So before I lift, I'm going to consciously in my mind imagine that I have a piece of string along the hips, pulling me up towards the sky. So middle finger facing forwards, actively thinking about engaging, pulling the mat apart, and my shoulder blades just naturally as I do that will loop back and down, so they're not scooping up towards my ears. My knees in line with my hips, my feet in line with my knees. From here, pulling belly button in towards the spine. On an inhale, imagine that piece of string along the hips, lifting through the hips and pressing through the arms. Now from here, if the heels aren't reaching the ground, that's fine, my loves. Again, it's just listening into your body. They'll naturally over time might start to float a little bit closer towards the ground, but for now, having them off the ground is completely fine, as well as having a little bend of the knees. That's completely fine as well. So what isn't okay is any sharp pain in the joints. So if you're finding that the wrists are giving you any sharp pain, then again, we can come into that dolphin variation. If we're noticing the elbows or the shoulders giving us any sharp pain, again, we can just find a different variation for this position. So with the gaze, I'm going to be looking either in between my feet or towards my knees, whatever feels more comfortable for your eyes or for your neck position. So I'm trying to keep that neutral neck or neutral spine, not lifting up, looking forwards, making sure I'm pressing back. Again, staying active through the shoulder girdles. So I'm trying to separate my shoulders, trying to push my arm bones down in towards the ground, looking towards the feet. So a big difference here between my ears coming towards my shoulders and pressing my shoulders away from my ears. Back is nice and flat here, or as flat as your spine can make it. Again, everyone is made slightly different. Now, one thing I'm always encouraging my students to do is take a little movement with this pose. So you can use the breath, you can alternate through the heels, have a little pedal out through the feet, and just finding what feels good. Again, trying to keep equal pressure through the hands though as I do this. I'm not shifting all of my weight and then shifting all of my weight. I'm staying active through the arms, looking towards the space in between the feet, strong arms, and just finding a nice comfortable little rhythm with my pedals, with my breath. Then from here, when it's time to come out, you can either just drop the knees down towards the ground, or we can look forwards, shifting forwards into a high plank position, and then gently we can lower to the knees, or we can come down through that little push-up position. So just recapping there quickly. So we're thinking about the hands absorbing that weight coming through the body, focusing a little bit more weight through this section of the hands, imagining ripping the mat apart, activating through the arms. Shoulders are pressing down and away from the ears, keeping that stability through the shoulder girdle. Finding a little bit of movement or whatever feels good for you. If we are finding any pain in the wrists, the elbows or the shoulders, we're stopping straight away. A little bit of that uncomfortable feeling can be okay if the muscles just need a little bit of strengthening. But again, always listening to your bodies, my loves. Especially if in class an instructor is pushing you or trying to get you into a pose that's really not feeling good for you. It's really important that you listen into your body, that you trust yourself. Yoga is all about connecting the body, the mind, and the soul. So just really trying to keep that connection between the mind and the body. So if something is signaling to you that it's just not right, always come out, try and adjust the positioning of the hands, or thinking about pressing through the shoulders, engaging through the core, and hopefully finding a position that feels good for you. If you have any questions, feel free to hop them in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me through this little tutorial, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you for joining.